Welcome back, everybody, to the Fighting for Freedom podcast. I just want to say thank you to everybody for all your love and support. You guys have helped this channel grow dramatically. If you could please, at this time, drop us a like, comment, subscribe, share our podcast, turn on those bell notifications, and leave us a rating and good review. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Fighting for freedom, one podcast at a time.
What's up? What's up? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of the pod. Today I got a man that as soon as he came on, he introduced himself to me as the worst but best soldier that there possibly is. Richard, what's up, man? How you doing today?
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm so blessed and grateful, and I can't wait for you to be on my show. We need to hook that up.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Let's get that audience to hear. Now they'll hear your story, and then they'll be able to hear my story when I come on for you. So, Richard, born and raised, tell me about it.
I'm a Jersey boy, so I'm a Jersey boy. I'll give you a quick down and dirty, and then we can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Okay.
I grew up here in around Newark, Belleville area, so not exactly the whitest area. So I got my ass kicked a lot. But my mom was an addict. My dad left when I was 3 months old. Moved like 14 different places. Had my first drink at 11. Full-blown alcoholic at 13. Got thrown out of high school at 16 for hitting a teacher in the head with a desk. So at 17, the day I turned 17, I actually joined the military. And joined the military, I was in there for 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. Got thrown out for being a drug addict, alcoholic. Got back in, which is rare. You never see somebody get back in after being thrown out for being a drug addict and alcoholic. I got back in, was about to be thrown out again, not for drinking, just for being an a-hole. Mm-hmm. But what happened on that 8:47 on that Tuesday morning on 9/11 totally changed my life. And then I got back in the military. And I stayed. They kept me. Within 3 years, won Soldier of the Year, non-commissioned officer, went to like eight different schools. And then what happened was, and I moved here to back to New Jersey. I was in South Carolina, National Guard. I moved back to New Jersey. My first drill, I'm backing up a Humvee, an up-armored Humvee. Mm-hmm. And instead of him hitting the brakes, the kid hit the gas, ran over the whole right side of my body, or ran over my head. And I had an ocular stroke. So I actually lost 80% of my vision.
Wow.
And obviously the military says you can't see, you can't shoot. So they medically discharged me Labor Day 2012. That was the day that I attempted suicide. But my 6-month-old daughter saved my life, and we could talk about that. But that Tuesday is when I started getting help. And a little while after that is when I actually had lunch with Mr. Gary Vaynerchuk of Gary V. And he started me as the comeback coach. He started me on the book, the podcast. And now my goal is just to let people know it's okay not to be okay. I got big shoulders. I got big ears. So if you need somebody to talk to, I'm that guy. And also, I want people to know that I would rather sit for an hour and hear your bullshit than I would sit for an hour to hear your eulogy.
Yeah.
So that's what I do now. I'm a top paid speaker. I'm also a top podcast host, two-time number one best-selling author. But for me, I'm a junkie who got lucky, and I tell everybody I went from dope dealer to hope dealer. Now, wherever you want to go, let's roll with it.
Hey, man, I honestly, you raised so many questions that I have that the audience is probably going to have. I guess going back to square one, right? So you grew up in Jersey, and I'm familiar with that area because Newark is the home to my New Jersey Devils. I know I'm wearing a Sharks hat, but disregard the Sharks hat. I am a diehard Devils fan. I actually went to the home opener this year against the Red Wings, where we ended up smacking them. I think I talked so much shit to that goalie. He's probably looking for a different contract to never come back.
I've been a Devils fan my whole life. So my
Nice.
wife's a Rangers fan. So this house is divided.
Yeah, you know what's crazy too, Richard, is like my whole family are Ranger fans. I am the only Devil fan in my family, and they don't get why. And I'm like, you know what? We're just simply better. I don't know what you want from me. Like, there's a reason why we're the New Jersey Devils, and we beat you guys last year. Like, I don't care if the Devils play a whole season, make it to the best season we've ever had, make it to the first round of the playoffs, sweep the Rangers, which happened last year, and then get our asses kicked in the second round.
Well, I tell my wife that we're the only number 30 that has any cups.
Oh, I like that. I like that. All right. So growing up in Newark, right? School was kind of rough for you, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I mean, for like I said, we moved 14 times, so a lot of those times was down in a not so great part of the neighborhood where like I was the only white kid, so I got my ass beat a lot. Until one day I got sick and tired of getting my ass kicked, and I actually picked up some kid's bike and I beat all the kids with the bike. I just had enough. Yeah. And from that day on, from that moment on, I hate bullies. I can't stand a bully. And I tell my daughter, I spent 23 years in the military fighting bullies, and I won't put up with bullies. I don't like bullies at all. So, and that's where it all stemmed from, was from getting my ass beat a lot.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to, like, I don't care how bad it is at home for you or what you got going in your personal life. There's no reason to take it out on somebody else. There's just absolutely no reason. I definitely side with you on that one, Richard. So growing up for you, when you're, when you finally hit like that teenage age and you're almost going to high school, like what's going through your life? Like, where did this whole military kind of come up for you?
Well, my mother had a series of husbands and boyfriends. Yeah. And for me, my solace has been reading. Now, I didn't even graduate ninth grade, so I only got an 8th grade education. But I've read over 6,000 books.
Oh, wow.
And I love to read. I got 18 books going right now, plus 2 audio books. I'm a sucker for knowledge. But for me, I had severe ADHD. Mm-hmm. And they didn't, back then, they're just like, yeah, he's just dumb. And I'm like, no, I already know the material you taught me. You don't got to tell me for the next week. I learned it already.
Yeah.
And you're just like, you're just dumb. And that's what they put labeled on you back then. You're dumb. You're slow. I was just like, no, I'm done. You taught me 2 + 2 is 4. Next, move on.
Yeah.
So, but I hit the teacher in the head with a desk. They threw me out. So for me, and I worked part-time jobs. I became an emancipated minor at 16 years old, which means at 16 years old, I was on my own. Mm-hmm. And it was either jail or the military. And I was like, you know what? Let me join the military. And unfortunately, I did both while I was in the military and both when I got home. So, but, I'm 17 years old and I tell the story all the time. Other kids are still in high school. I'm over in Germany. I'm over at Oktoberfest in October at 17 years old, roadieing for Joan Jett at 17 years old. So I was actually living, because I never expected to live to the age of 20. I never expected to even live to that age. So everything was just party, have fun, live hard, die young, leave a good looking corpse. That was me back then. Mm-hmm. So, that's what I did for 2.5 years. That was my life, just traveling the world and partying.
Wow. You got a lot of that out of your system quick. You joined the military when you were 17?
Yep, the day I turned 17.
Wow. And then you get to, I don't say you get to, but you get kicked out how far into your first contract?
2.5 years. And now I'm also the only guy that you'll probably ever talk to that has had in his career 8 Article 15s, including 2 field grade Article 15s. So I was that shitbag. I was the worst soldier you ever meet. I had the long hair. I went to unshaved. I ran PT drunk. I've done it all. I was that guy that everybody said he's the worst. But the reason why they kept me for that long, because if you put me in the field, I was the field dog. I was the guy that I'd stay up 24, 48, 72 hours, jumping tank to tank, having fun. So if you needed me to do something in the field, I was the man, the myth, and the legend.
Yeah.
You put me in the rear with the gear, I'm going to jail. I'm getting locked up, or I'm getting in a fight. So that's why I think I lasted so long, 2.5 years.
All of this drinking started from the military, or was there a path to Richard? No, it started prior.
I had my first drink on New Year's Eve when I was 11 years old, and I was a full blown alcoholic at the age of 13. I was putting down a case a day, and a fifth of Sambuca at 13.
Wow, and that lasted until you lasted 2.5 years.
The day I got locked up and was almost going to have to do 5 years in penitentiary.
So you got locked up while you were in the military, correct?
No, I got locked up a couple times when I was in the military, but it didn't make me help me get sober until I got locked up for real when I got out thrown out of the military, and they locked me up for real for robbing a police officer, and I was looking at five years for grand larceny. And he told me, he's like, listen, you're still 20, you're back then I was good looking. So he would say, if you're going to go to jail, you're going to go to big boy jail.
Yeah.
You're going to be somebody's woman in jail, and your life is going to be ruined. He's like, but I'm going to give you a chance. And I wish I remember who it was. I would buy him the biggest tomahawk steak. I'd buy him whatever he wanted because he actually saved me. Because he said, I want my money back in 24 hours. You got to, beg, borrow, whatever you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to go to be in an AA meeting first thing in the morning. So I beg and borrow, and I paid him back the money, and I paid back the people that helped me out. And I was drunk in my first AA meeting, and that was January 2nd, 1989. And I haven't had a drink or a drug since 1989. 35, going on 35 years.
I commend you for that. I really do. For people to not only identify the problem but seek help for the problem and keep it going for that long. That's something that even like the celebratory drink, right? Like I've never been in that position, Richard. So like I wouldn't really know like how it feels, right? I guarantee that's I can imagine that's like a hard process to go through.
Well, it was either 5 years in the penitentiary,
yeah,
or I don't drink anymore.
Yeah.
And after he told me I had to do 90 meetings in 90 days, I think I did something like 300 meetings in a row. And that's when I realized, all my problems, I caused them all.
Yep.
Everything is my fault. And alcohol was a big part of it. And so I'm 20 years old now. I'm not even able to legally drink, which is weird. But I realized I can't hang out with my old friends. Like they would be like, we'll party on a Saturday or a Sunday. But 8:00, they're getting ready for school or work the next day. And I'm like, wait a minute, party's just beginning, bro. They knew when to stop. And I didn't know when to stop. So when I had the choice, prison or getting sober, I chose not to go to prison.
Mm-hmm.
And at that moment, I'm 20 years old. I'm drinking nasty coffee, stale cookies with a bunch of 40 and 50-year-old guys. And they told me, sit down and shut up because you don't know anything. But for me, I felt home because we were all dealing with the same stuff. And that's when I started saying, you know what? I got a problem. And I need help. But I got to be honest with myself why, I'm the problem. Nobody else is the problem. Not my mother, my drug addict mother, alcoholic, my father leaving. It's not their fault.
Yeah.
And that's the way I've lived my life from that day on. Is everything is my fault. I take 100% responsibility of it. Everything I've ever done, because it led me to be able to sit here with you on your amazing podcast.
Thank you for that. I appreciate those kind of words. And you know what? You're right. Accountability is one of the things that they preach in the military, and you don't realize how important it is until it actually smacks you in the face, right? And I guess you kind of got dealt that in maybe not the best way, the best circumstances. I mean, maybe like kind of a dumb question, but do you think if you would have gone to prison that first time, your life would have been exactly where it is now or completely different?
Well, I was a corrections officer for a while.
Oh,
And
okay.
there's two types of people that go to jail. Either you become a better criminal or you straighten your life out.
Yeah.
And for me, if you're going to tell me how I can get away with everything that I just did and not have to work and to be lazy and I can live large, that's what I would have listened to. But thank God I didn't have to go through that.
Yep.
But now I know that, since this time, I've spoken in hundreds of prisons. I've spoken in rehabs. So now I know what these guys are going through. And I can say, you know what, guys, there's a better way. You
Yeah.
don't have to come back out and relapse. And I think a lot of people think, well, relapse is part of recovery. Relapse does not have to be part of recovery, because a lot of people that go out, they don't come back. I
Mhm.
know a lot of guys, they would go out. I got one more run in me. I'm gonna try a little of this, little heroin, a little bit coke. Nowadays you got fentanyl, people dropping like flies.
Yeah, this
So,
shit's it's getting
and I
crazy.
tell people, listen, because if over there where I'm sitting in my office, there's a big refrigerator, and my wife has wine, beer, liquor. It's not for me, because
Mhm.
my theory is, I drink, I die.
Mhm.
That's it. There's no middle ground. And even like when we go out for dinner, my wife has tasted everything I've ever drank something like that, since 1989. Every time we go out to dinner, she tastes everything, even if it's a Diet Coke. How worried I am about my sobriety, because I drink, I die. And then people ask me, the waitress, can I get you a drink? And I'm like, no, I'm allergic to alcohol. I break out in handcuffs. And then she laughs about it, and then that's over. You know what I mean? So for me, it's kind of like, I drink, I die. Next. And I don't even think about alcohol. I really don't. I don't think about it. I don't care. I'll serve people that come to my house. I'll go get you your beer. I'll get you your wine. It's not my issue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's my issue. You drinking, that's not my issue. That's not my circus, not my monkey. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see a lot of people, they quit drinking, they make a big deal about it. I'm like, I don't drink. That's it. And
Mhm.
once you make up your mind, I don't do something, like I don't cheat on my wife. So I don't have to worry about it, because I know that's something I don't do. So
Yeah.
if you don't drink, there's no problem. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I not myself, but I have one of these buddies too, and he's been in and out of rehab since we were, 19 years old. He goes in, he's there for 3 months, he comes out, he relapses, he goes back, and we've been doing this for so long, right? I wish he could hear this and actually maybe reach out to you and talk to you or something, or read a book. I don't know, do something, man, because he's one of our best friends, and it's getting to the point, Richard, where we just we're kind of getting tired of dealing with his shit. I'm not saying his shit in a bad way, but this is probably the sixth time he's been coming in and out. And every time he comes back out, like we try to be there and support him and hang out with him and maybe go take him to go get like a burger from the diner or something. And then a week later, we find out he's doing some dumb shit and he's selling his guitar that his whatever the case may be, and we're just like, you know what? Like, these are your choices that you're making, and it's affecting us, right? So, as much as you say that you're trying, it's affecting us and our friendship. So, like, at the end of the day, we can only help you so much. You
Well,
know,
I mean, and also, like I said, the day I turned I mean, when I almost got locked up, I had to realize that, you know, I had to stay away from people,
Mm-hmm.
places,
Yep.
and things. You know, and I believe that even now that where I'm at now, you know, I believe that you are the average of the five people you hang out with the most. So if
Yeah.
I believe that if you're hanging out with five millionaires, guess who's going to be the sixth?
Yeah.
But if you're hanging out with somebody that's getting high, getting drunk, going to the bar and hanging out, even in, like we were taught in the military, if you hang out, at the barber long enough, you're going to get a haircut.
Yep.
So, I think sometimes you got to really cut bait and say, you know what, I'm ready to start over. I can't be hanging out at the bar. I can't be going out hanging out. I got to change my life. So maybe he's struggling with that. People, places, and things.
Yeah. You also had, I don't want to say the opportunity, but whatever that word would be, right? We're both not that good at English, but you also, I guess, that ultimatum, right? Like that almost experience of having to go to prison for what you were doing wrong. Maybe people haven't had that, and I pray to God no one has that happen to them, where their life is either going to end up dead or in jail, right? So I I don't know. I really don't know where I'm going with it. I just want to say that, like, I'm very happy for you for where you are now, even though you had probably one of the shittiest circumstances I've heard of. I guess for someone to tell you, hey, you're either going to get your shit together or you're going to go to jail, and you were like, okay, reality check, got it, good to go.
But also, I'm thinking about, okay, I got his money back. I could have did the 6 month and the 3 months in rehab
Mm-hmm.
and started drinking again. Or even like when I got my head ran
Yeah.
over and I went blind, I could have said, you know what, I'm blind. I'm already fucked up. So why don't I just start popping pills and getting drunk again? No, because there's nothing. You can't find anything at the bottom of a bottle. There's
Yeah.
nothing there. There's just, your life is going to end. You don't see many old alcoholics or drug addicts. They don't exist.
Yeah,
And if
that's
they
true.
do, they don't have a life. They don't have a wife. They don't have a house. They don't have a car. They don't have a business. They got nothing. So
Mm-hmm.
what is there to, aspire to if you're looking at the bottom of a bottle,
Yeah, no, 100%. The only thing you see at the bottom of a bottle is a broken ship, apparently, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
So, so I think eventually either a person gets sick and tired of being sick and tired, or they hear a
mhm.
podcast like that and they're like, hey, if that dumb schmuck made it,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can make it. And that's my goal. My goal is to say, if I can do it,
yeah,
anybody could do anybody could do this. It's not hard. It's just and I told somebody today, I said, you can use and you can drink any day,
yep.
just not today.
Well said.
And if you do that, day after day, year after year, all of a sudden you're looking at 3 years clean, 5 years, 10 years, because
Hmm.
you are your habits.
Hmm.
So whatever you do today, I'll show you where you're going to be in 5 years by the things that you do today.
So, for example, right? Let's just say someone's going through these issues that we're talking about right now. They hear this and they're like, you know what? Sounds good. Step one. What would be step one for you to give advice to somebody?
Well, the way I put this, and it's for myself because I'm not talking about anybody else.
Of course, yeah.
Okay,
Everyone needs a guideline, though.
yep, it's my third marriage. Um, I've been through a lot of relationships. I've been through a lot of jobs. I've been broke many times. I've been homeless. I've lived in crack houses. But I'm the common denominator.
Yes.
I'm the problem.
Yeah.
So one thing is when you finally decide, all right, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's when you got to say, okay, I'm the problem. I need to fix me, and I can't get sober for you. I can't get sober for my wife. I can't get sober for my kids. I got to do it for me. You know what I mean? So that would
Yeah.
be the first thing. Even like Grant Cardone, I love him. I used to hate him. I hated his guts at one time, but until I realized that he was a recovering addict.
Hmm.
And when he got clean, his wealth became his drug. But he said everything in his book, 10X, once you realize that everything is your fault, from this point on, you can actually be free. So you have to start saying, all right, what part am I playing in my life? It's my fault. I need to get sober, get clean. I'm going to start from today, changing me. Like I said, not for my wife, not for my kids, my boss, nothing like that. You got to do it for you, or you're going to go back out again.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. I appreciate that because I feel like everyone needs kind of like a roadmap, right? Like no one, you can't really. I mean, I guess you can Google this shit, right? But to hear it from the mouth of somebody who actually went through it, it's more realistic rather than like the web telling you what to do. So yeah, because I mean, I was kind of curious, right? Like, God forbid, I pray to God that never happens to me, but what would be step one, right? And then saying, hey, listen, like, this is my fucking fault. I got to deal with it. Because, like, I'm pretty sure, we've always heard the expression, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, right? And, maybe one way doesn't work for some people. Maybe your way will work for other people. So thank you very much for sharing. Hopefully that does touch and help that one person out of the millions that are probably listening to this podcast.
Yeah, because like you said, not everything works for everybody.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the first beer, you can't have the second.
Exactly.
That's simple. That makes it as simple as you can get. If you don't have the first one, you can't have the second one.
No, well said, Richard. All right, so let's fast forward a little bit. So you make it through this whole your I don't want to say your process, but your road to recovery, right? And you end up going back to the military.
Yeah, I got thrown out for being a drug addict and alcoholic.
Okay.
And then as my uncle is bailing me out, now this guy was like 5'4", badass. I mean, he was a badass. He was actually the boxing champion of the army during Korea.
Oh, fuck.
And as he's bailing me out, him and my dad and my aunt are bailing me out. Because I walked away, I gave away like $3,000 worth of free drinks. And I pocketed like $5,000. So I borrowed the money from them. And as he's bailing me out, he said, you know what? I knew you didn't have what it took to be a real military man. And that just ate at me and ate at me. Then when I got sober, I'm like, you MFer. I'm like, I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
And so I did everything I could to get back in the military. And the only one that would take me back in was the Pennsylvania National Guard. So I joined the National Guard 1990. I joined the National Guard.
Okay. So when you joined in 1990, where do you end up going? Do you stay in Jersey, or do you?
No, I actually moved to Pennsylvania. I joined the Pennsylvania National Guard, and now I'm not drinking, but I'm still an asshole, and I still got an attitude. So I picked up a couple more Article 15s while I was there, and so then I decided, you know what, I'm not doing great here. I'm going to move to South Carolina. So I moved to Myrtle Beach. I joined the South Carolina National Guard. So here I am. I'm a young punk from Jersey.
Yeah,
with
you
a
definitely
bad
got
mouth
that Jersey mentality.
and a bad mouth and a bad attitude. And I'm moving into Conway, South Carolina, which is now, if you guys watch college football, Coastal Carolina University, where my son goes, by the way, he's a senior. But that's where I joined the Conway National Guard. And again, I picked up a couple more Article 15s along the way. And actually, one of my tank commanders, his brother used to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh wow!
So Le'Veon. So I was going to be thrown out at the end of September of 2001 for being an asshole.
Yeah.
But they after 8:47 on that Tuesday morning, my whole life changed in a split second. So what happened? I mean, And I tell everybody the story that where I'm sitting now, I'm actually sitting in the shadow of where the Twin Towers once stood. You can actually overlook and see where the towers were. And we knew people that were in the towers that day.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, I'm sure you remember it vividly because, we're both from the same area.
Yep.
When it happened, 8:47, 8:48, and it was on TV, you can actually hear the bodies hitting the ground.
And the floor.
You can see people jumping out of the buildings.
Yeah.
And as I'm watching this on TV, all my stuff, all my TA-50 is to the right of the TV because I got to turn all my stuff in. And what really hit home was as they panned to the Pentagon and they're pulling bodies out of the Pentagon. These soldiers just went to work that day.
Yep.
And here I am taking for granted the last 2.5, 4, 5 years of my military career. And these people just went to work and served their country. And I literally broke down in my couch and cried out to the Lord and said, Lord, give me another chance. Give me a chance to help people that can't help themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And from that moment on, my whole life changed. I actually called my company commander, my first sergeant. I said, I need to see you guys. I need to meet with you. And they said, okay, come to the armory. I met with them. Now I've been, thank God they used to make rank with the patches where you could just pull them off.
Yeah.
Because I got busted so many times. And I've been in their offices so many times. They're just like, yeah, Rich, just come on in. It was kind of like Norm from Cheers. They're like, hey, Norm. So I went in her office and I said, you know what? I've messed up so many times. I said, but now I'm ready to be the soldier that God's called me to be, only if you'll let me.
Mm-hmm.
And they said they seen something in my eyes. I was different. And they kept me. And I had drill the next weekend. I showed up 2 hours early. I stayed 2 hours late. I was never late for another formation ever again. And when I moved to South Carolina, when I moved back from South Carolina, I drove 13 hours to get to drill and drove 13 hours to come back home.
Damn.
That's how committed I was to be able to help as many people as I can. That's why I said, I was the worst soldier. And then, becoming soldier of the year, my goal was to become the ultimate soldier. So I went to every class. I took every course, any kind of job you wanted. You wanted to send me to this, I'm going to go there. You want me to be the PP man? I'll go be the PP man.
Yeah.
I did whatever they asked me to do.
Yeah.
And they got tired of me volunteering. They're like, come on already. They're like, stop volunteering. We're not sending you anywhere. But
don't you want to get in trouble again?
No. And I wanted to be that NCO. When they pinned me and I read the NCO creed,
mm-hmm.
that meant the world to me. I wanted to be the best non-commissioned officer ever. And I actually lived that creed. And I still live that creed today.
Yeah, it's something that you'll never forget. It'll always live with you.
Yeah, and I always put my friends, I put my family first before me. I'll take the bullets for you. I'll
mm-hmm.
take the arrows for you. I got your back. When I say I got your back, It means I got your back. If I call you brother or sister, it means I'll never talk behind your back. I'll talk shit in your face, but I'm never going to talk behind your back. And if you need me, I'm here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's when you hear the word brother and sister and I got your six, I'm that guy that has your six.
Yeah. That's crazy. And I'm thinking about it too, is the reason why you joined for the second time is you said your uncle said something to you that stuck with you. Said, I guess you don't have what it takes. Something along those lines, right?
He says, I knew you didn't have what it took to be a career military man.
Yeah.
And coming from him, now he had a 4th grade education and retired a multi-millionaire. So not only was he an entrepreneur, he was also the Korean boxing champion in the military. So whatever he said, if he said the sky was blue and it was nighttime, I believe the sky was blue. So
Yeah.
whatever he said, I
Yeah.
believed. I looked up to him that much.
Yeah. And for you to do what you did in that span of kind of right after 9/11 to when you made, I was gonna say Sailor of the Year. I'm over here Navy to to Soldier of the Year. That's definitely something. Not to stick it to him, right? Because no one's ever trying to stick anything to anybody. That's just very, very like haha of you. But just to be like, you know what? Like I did it. I'm proud, and I hope you're proud now too.
Yeah, and I think about, he died at an early age, but I always think about that, and I talk about him all the time. If it wasn't for him saying that, I could have took it either way. I could have been like, well, screw you. I guess I wasn't, or I took it and I went to the extreme, and I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm going to show you.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it was kind of like it wasn't one of those. I'm going to show you. It was kind of like I want to earn your respect.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to respect me as I respect you. So it was never that vicious. It was, that because I think about him, I wish, unfortunately, as we grow older, we lose a lot of our mentors. And I
Yeah.
wish that I would have listened a little bit more to him. So, every day he's in my thoughts and my prayers. I just
Mm-hmm.
want to make him proud and be the father and the husband that he was to his wife and his kids.
Mm-hmm. Wait, so kind of going back to where we were when you made Sailor. I keep saying Sailor. I'm stuck in this whole Navy mentality. When you make Soldier of the Year, how long of time do you have in service?
Probably shit. Uh,
Let's say like 4 or 5.
Probably about 7 years because, like I said,
Oh, okay.
I got 2.5 years active duty time, and I got busted down to zero. And then I got back in, and I got busted down to zero like so many times. So probably like maybe about 8 years, I would say.
Oh, so about a third into your entire let's just say enlistment is when it finally when you were finally peaking. You were like, okay, like this is my job, this is my country. I'm actually getting my shit together, and I'm actually doing really good, and I'm kind of happy about what I'm doing, right?
Well, what happened was, they said, okay, we're going to give you a second chance. I mean,
Hmm.
well, they didn't say second chance,
Yeah,
but they gave me a lot of chances.
yeah, it's the
So,
army.
but
They
they
can
said we're
count
going to
that
give you
high.
another chance.
Okay.
Now, I'm still friends with my company commander and my first sergeant. We're still friends now. I talk to them all the time. But I'm like, all right. I sat there and I'm like, I'm like, I got to do something different, because
Yep.
my way's not working. So I got there 2 hours early and sat in my truck. And then, like 15 minutes later, I see all the brass and I see all the people that are first sergeants, E8s, E7s, E6s. They're coming in an hour and a half, 2 hours early, and they're successful.
Mhm.
They're crushing it. And then I see all the guys like me, E2, E3s. I was an E0. I think I was an EIOU one at this point. And they show up 5 minutes before formation. And I'm like, all right, that was me. I
Yeah.
want to be where that colonel is. I want to be in the offices with them guys.
Hmm.
So, if I'm hanging out with an E4, he can't teach me anything.
Yep.
But if I start getting there early, maybe I can get in and start cleaning the offices and hear what they're talking about. So I can get in on the conversation and I could start learning because I had a lot of ground to make up. I had
Yeah.
7, 8 years. I had ground to make up because I wasn't getting any younger. And
Hmm.
I made the promise, to my first sergeant and company commander that I was going to do everything possible to become the best soldier I could be. And that's how I figured out, okay, I get there. Because even in the program, they told me the best meetings are before the meeting and after the meeting.
Yeah.
So that's why I figured, all right, so if I get there 2 hours early, I'm getting 2 hours worth of knowledge. If I'm going to sit there and let them bend their ear. And if I stay 2 hours late, I'm going to get 2 hours more knowledge. That's 4 hours a day. I'm going to get knowledge that everybody else isn't getting.
Yep. Yep,
And so,
I definitely I went through that too, where I'll be working in the offices and like I know we have like some field training coming up or an exercise coming up, and people get selected. When you're just that person who's in the office, just sitting there, twiddling your thumbs, waiting for your name to get called so you can go do whatever the hell they need you to do, whether it be go mop the parking lot or organize the paper in the copy machine, just some bullshit work to be done. It's everything that happens before they pass that word, and then everything that happens after they pass that word. Those are like the meat and potatoes. That's when you get to hear like all the nitty gritty and
yeah.
kind of pick up the lingo and pick up the slang and be able to like have a conversation with someone of like a higher caliber in the military. So that's actually smart that you did that.
Yeah, and then they were like, because I was watching people, I'm like, all right, I've been demoted so many times.
Yep.
I'm like, it's time for me to get promoted. And
Yeah.
I would see all these, like I said, E6s, E7s, E8s. They're going to schools.
Mhm.
They're maxing out their PT. They're maxing out their correspondence courses. And I'm like, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
So that's what I started doing. I maxed out, I think within a year, I maxed out all my correspondence courses. I started maxing the PT test. And I literally volunteered for every detail. Even when you want me to clean the bathrooms, I'm going to volunteer to clean the bathroom. You want me to go? I would actually go to the chow. I'm like, you guys want me to do? Want me to do stuff here? Whatever you want me to do. And eventually they get tired and they're like, Kaufman, enough.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, all right, come with us. Come with us, and why don't you come out to dinner with us? Why don't you go to this school? Why don't you come instead of going to annual training? A day early. Why don't you come a week early?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I just started saying, okay, I'll start learning from what you're doing. You just teach me. I'm going to be a sponge. And I just listen to everything that I do. And I think that's how I become successful in podcasting and writing a best-selling book, because I realize that success leaves clues, but you got to put in the work.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. This isn't the easiest thing I've ever done. This was a goal that I had in mind, and like other things in my life, there's been things where I'm like, "Hey, I want to learn how to do this, or I want to try this, and I want to do that, and I want this, and I want that." But you just never do it because you're lazy, right? This is the one thing that I was like, "You know what? I want to do it, and I'm gonna do it." And here we are today. I'm talking with Richard Kaufman, someone I don't think I've ever would have met in my entire life. Someone who's on like I don't want to say the number wrong, but it was the 0.001% of podcasts. Like
0.5 of all podcasts globally.
yes,
And that's so. But again, I never take credit. It's all God. He's doing it all. But I credit my guests.
Yep.
Because the guests are the ones that make it. Me, I'm just my goal now is just to become the ultimate host.
Yeah.
Just like I had David Meltzer on the show. Now he's got a $20 billion company.
Wow.
And he owns the number one sports agency in the world. They actually wrote the movie Jerry Maguire about him.
Oh wow.
And I had him on the show, and he said, Richard is more interested than interesting. And I was really pissed off when I read that quote. And so I looked it up, and it was something that somebody once said about Dan Rather, that a good host is more interested in the guest than interesting talking about themselves.
Yep.
So for me, my goal is to be the ultimate interviewer and the ultimate host. They call me G.I. Joe Rogan, or the male host.
Hey, that's a good name. Damn, I should have thought of that one. And why didn't nobody on my channel think to call me that? No, I'm joking. That's funny. The G.I. Joe Rogan. I see, but just like I'm saying, Richard, like this is honestly this is more of a hobby. This is like a passion, to be able to just talk to people. So I kind of want to get back into your story because I'm very curious. What have you done in the National Guard that, looking back, you're like, you'll never believe I did this?
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so much. I mean, I was actually my two field grade Article 15s were, um, I had Fort Hood was locked down for 12 hours because of me, because I lost one of my personal weapons in the
Oh,
field.
did you lose?
So they
You lost
actually
like your NVGs
locked
or
down.
something?
They actually locked down the whole fort, and I got a field grade for that, and I think it was like uh, 3 months loss of duty, 3 months extra extra duty, loss of pay. So that
Mm.
was the first time, and the second time, and the final straw was they put me on a funeral detail. Why you'd put me on a funeral detail, I have no clue. But they told me, they're like, this guy, he's gonna live forever. He's an old general. He's all right. So, and they're like, just don't go anywhere for a while. If you're gonna party, stay in your room. I partied, didn't stay in my room. Uh, Dude croaked like the same day. I got drunk, and somehow Fort Hood is in about a half hour from Austin, Texas. Somehow I ended up in Dallas, got locked up. They had to come drive 4 hours, pick me up to go because I missed this 4 stars funeral detail, and then that's when they're like, listen, we're done here. And within like a week, they had me on a plane home.
Yeah.
But I had some great times. Like I said, I
Yeah.
roadied for Joan Jett. I
Yep.
got to hang out. I got to do things. I got to blow stuff up in tanks. I got to shoot tanks from like 4 miles away. I got to do a lot of great stuff. And the best part is I became a man.
Yep.
I realized, that you got to be a man. And and I wrote this in my book, and we can talk about it later if you want to.
Yeah. Of
I
course.
actually got cured from racism back in 1986, all because of being in the military.
But it's basically because it's like a huge melting pot. Am I kind of on the right track?
Oh no, it
Oh
was
no. Okay.
it was rough. It was now, like I said, street kid from Jersey, loudmouth, punk, 20 years old, 1920, and they put me in a room with a guy from Alabama. He's a brother, of course. 6'5", 240 pounds, jacked. Now there's strong, and then there's country strong, and this
Okay.
boy was country strong, and
Yeah.
he outranked me a little bit. And of course, my room was always messed up. It was always dirty. My bed was never made. My rack was always messed up. So one day we both get in trouble, and he says to me, what do you think about what just happened? And I said the N word. He looked at me, looked down at me like this. This is him, and that's a microphone. He's like, I know you just did not say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, can you repeat that? So of course, I'm dumb.
Yeah.
I repeated it. So he closes our door to our rooms. We were roommates. Took off his cap, took off his BDU uniforms, and literally beat the snot out of me for like 2 hours straight. I
Oh.
had broken ribs. My nose was broken. I had a cheek that was broken. And he wore me out. Like,
Yeah.
I put that in the book. He wore me out. He says, sit down. And I'm like, oh, man. I'm like, there's can't be any more. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't take anymore.
Is he not tired? Yeah.
He went to the refrigerator. He got 2 beers, popped one open. Said, I want to tell you about why you should never use the N-word again. And then he talked about me, about his grandmother and grandfather and parents growing up in Alabama, and how his mother and father marched with MLK and what they went through because the great grandfather was a slave.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, I never used the N-word in a derogatory comment, in a derogatory way. But as me and him, we became best friends. We're still best friends today.
Good.
And he would walk in, we'd be walking in the motor pool walking by each other, and he'd be like, "Hey, Cracker," and I'd be like, "Hey, Porch Monkey, what's up, dude?" But because we had that love,
you had that bond.
and people were looking at us like, but we had that love, and like I said, from that day on, I don't see color. And my wife says, "How do you?" I was like, "I don't know. I just see people." Like I got a friend, his name is Joe, and he's a police officer, and I was with GNC for over 30 years. So he would come in, and somebody said, "Hey, do you know Joe?" And I'm like, "I know a lot of Joes." I'm like, "Which Joe?" He's like, "The cop." I'm like, "I know a lot of cops named Joe."
Yeah.
He's like, "The black guy." I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's like, "Let me show you a picture." I'm like, "Oh, that's Joe." I never put two and two together that he was a black guy. Never thought of it. It was just Joe.
Yep.
And I think for me, I don't see it that way. I don't see race. And when I did become homeless again at one point, all my fault, obviously, I had a black family that actually took me in for 3 years. And they taught me, you know, the black families, they taught me, what the matriarchs of the families are, what the patriarchs of the family, what it's like to be in a black household. So for me, I tell everybody, I'm white from the waist up, but for me, like even on my way here today, I went somewhere, I'm bumping DMX, I'm bumping NWA, Tupac. So for me, I don't see color, and I'm the kind of guy that's, I don't care if you're black, white, green, we're all the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
when I tell people that story, they're like, all right, I'm going to ask you a question. If you were my guest,
okay, go for it.
What would you think is my favorite movie of all time? And you're not going to guess. Nobody ever has yet.
No, probably not. I will give you 3 solid guesses, though. I do need some kind of helpful hint, though. Is it an older movie or
It's an older movie, yeah.
It's an older movie.
And I'll give you a hint. Denzel Washington.
Oh damn! I wasn't even going Denzel. I was gonna say like well, after the whole backtrack we just had, I would have said like maybe like Friday, or like Boys in the Hood, or even like Friday Night Lights. But now with the whole,
the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Really?
And I've watched it, I'd say 100 times. And the reason why I watch it is because at one point when he's in jail, and his name was Red back then, they said, "Red, why are you not being angry?" He said, "Because the prison holds my body, but my mind is free." And that always stuck with me, that no matter where we are, wherever your body's at, your mind can be free. And that's why I love the movie, because in the end, he just realized, you know what? This is all BS.
Yeah.
People are people, white, black, we're all people. So that's why I love the movie, and I'll watch it every single. It's like a 4-hour movie, and I'll watch it every time it's on. And I've read the book about 4 times.
Yeah, so you must love taking plane rides and watching that movie. That helps pass time.
Like I said, and I'm just a big knowledge person. Like somebody says, oh, this about the Quran, I'm like, have you read it? I'm like, I have. You talk about the Bible. Have you read it? I have. Because I don't like talking to people about stuff that I don't know anything about.
Yeah.
Like if I don't know about the Navy, I love the Navy, but I can't talk. I can't talk about it because I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get you. Well, if you have
like Kobe Bryant says, and I'm a big Kobe guy. A sports geek, I'm a big sports geek. Even Kobe said, I try not to curse, so I apologize, but
that's okay.
Something he said, he says, I dominate. He said, I know my lane, but I dominate that motherfucker. So if I know my lane, like podcasting and this stuff, I'm going to stay in my lane. I'm going to dominate. But if I don't know something, I'm going to say, can you say that again? Can you teach me?
Yep.
Can you show me? Because I don't know anything about it. And I'll admit, I don't know anything. But if you teach me, I'll know something. And that's why I started my show, because I know as a 9th grade dropout, I can't afford to sit. I just had a guy that me and him are going to partner up. He's got 14 companies. He's got a 140-foot yacht.
Wow.
So I can't afford to have him come teach me, but I can have him come on my show for an hour and a half and ask him any question that I want.
Yeah,
So that's why I
exactly.
started the podcast, so I can get a BA in you know in life and in business without having to go to Harvard or Yale.
Yeah. There's so many more things that I have learned over the span of 2 months doing this than I would have learned sitting down in any classroom lecture. The knowledge people have and the community that the podcasting is, the community that want to help. It's phenomenal. I met this one guy. His name is Richard Kaufman. Great guy. He
Oh, he's
actually
worthless. He's horrible.
It's horrible.
He's a
Yeah,
horrible guest.
yeah. I heard whenever the light turns yellow, he slows down.
Yeah, that's me. But
Uh,
like I think everybody should start a podcast. Like a while ago, my wife, we're sitting down, we're watching TV. She's like,
mhm.
"Man, I have a question about cutting some. I think it was cutting some kind of onion or something like that." She's like, "Man, I don't know the answer." And I got on my phone, I'm texting. She's like, "Who are you texting?" And I'm like, "Hold on, just hold on a second. I got an answer for you." She's like, "What do you mean you got an answer for me?" Because I just texted one of the Iron Chefs on the Food Network, and he's got the answer for you. And she's like,
Wow.
"Really?" And I'm like, "Yes." So stuff like that. When you have a podcast and you have all these hosts, like I didn't know anything about. Everybody was talking crypto, crypto, crypto. So I'm like, I don't know anything about it. I'm
Yep.
like, I'm like, who's the number one crypto guy in the world? His name is Seth Maniscalco. I'm like, Seth, come on the show, bro. I got a lot of questions to ask. He came on for like an hour and a half and taught me about crypto.
Yep.
When you have a platform, you can invite anybody you want to come on the show.
Yeah.
And you can,
Exactly.
if you want to learn about astrology, you can invite the best astrology people in the world. So that's why I started my podcast, so I can learn and I can become educated. So I think what you're doing, I love your podcast, and I haven't missed an episode yet. And guys, make sure you check out his YouTube channel. It's fire.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I I've been grinding, trying to put in whatever work I can, not only to please myself, but just to please others like yourself who are out there listening. It's just it's the most fun I never want to have ever again because it's definitely an uphill battle. Definitely an uphill battle. Richard, I am curious. Tell me about a time when you were not active, right? When you were in the National Guard, when you were just like, oh, damn, I should have went to fucking school.
Every damn day,
I was hoping for that. I was hoping for that response.
every day. But I realized that, like, there's people that live in my town, which I grew up with.
Yeah.
They haven't left the town. They
Yeah.
haven't left anywhere. Me, I've been all over the world. I have so many learning experiences that you can't teach at Seton Hall. You can't teach at St. John's University. You can't teach. Like me, I actually got to go shoot free throws on the New York Knicks, the New York Knicks floor. I got to go shoot free throws. How cool is that to be able to go, get invited to go by the New Jersey Devils, to go hang out with them and play and go hang out backstage and, under the Devils to hang out. So if I wasn't a veteran, those doors wouldn't be open.
Yeah.
So for me, I think, I'd rather have what I have now than have an education. I know a lot of people that they're book smart, but they're not street smart. Like me, if you drop me anywhere in this country, you could drop me in Compton, you could drop me in Brooklyn, you could drop me anywhere. I'm going to come out leading the pack.
Yep.
And a lot of it's because of the military. It's kind of like, okay, when we're in the military, it seems like if we're military, whether it's Navy, Army, if you've been in for any length of time, when shit hits the fan, we slow down. Everything slows down for us.
Yep.
And we're able to figure out, okay, how do I get out of this situation? What's the best way to get out of this situation? And just worry about surviving and not worry about all the stuff around us.
Yeah, the mind's kind of works different.
You can't get that in school.
Yeah. Definitely, the minds work different. Like when you were that E2, E1, E0, before you got your head on straight, when you walked into a room, you looked at every door and escape route possible. Not for the fact if something goes wrong, I know how to get out and get out safely, but how the fuck do I get out of here and go home? You know, it's just the mentality that you're taught. I mean, there's a reason why most of the people in the military are kinetic learners, right? We're all hands-on learners. We like to see things, we like to feel things, we like to practice things, and then we like to keep doing those things. Now, hand me a manual and tell me to read it and figure it out. Yeah, it's gonna take me a lot longer. That's just
That's
the
why
way.
YouTube is the best thing ever. You
I
can
love
learn
it, dude.
anything on YouTube.
Yeah. Literally, you can type in how to fucking boil water, and there's thousands of videos. And the craziest thing is, these videos of how to boil water have like 4 million views. I'm like, damn, like, people don't know how to, but I'm not hating on those 4 million people or whatever the number is, but it's good that there's shit like that out there. So, people
Yeah,
stay
because every
safe.
day I'm
And
on YouTube. Like just yesterday, I was on YouTube and realizing that there's an algorithm switch going on in Instagram that a lot of people don't even know about. So if
yeah,
you want whatever you want to do, like I tell everybody, if you have a smartphone and are still dumb in the United States, that's your fault.
yeah,
Because you
that's
can
your
pretty
fault.
much, I mean, unless you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer. But like my
Yeah,
cousin came over and fixed my dishwasher, and he was watching it on YouTube while doing it.
yeah.
So there's nothing you can't learn,
Nope.
especially even like for me. I'm a big Audible books guy. I love Audible. $15 a month. I've listened over 200 Audible books while I walk in the morning. So there's nothing you can't learn if you put the work and the effort in. And if you're like you said, me and you, we're visual learners.
Mhm.
Give me a microphone, let me touch it, let me hold it. I can do that. But if you put me in a field manual, I'm like, yeah, I got nothing. I'm like,
Yeah,
I got nothing.
yeah.
Just goes
I'm like, yeah. I told you I don't see color, bro. I don't know where the fuck the red wire goes. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. No, that's very funny. That's very funny. So when you finally finished your entire time with the guard, you're how old at that time?
Let's see, 2012. So I was now I went in at 17
Yeah.
and they medically retired me at 41. So I
Okay.
went in as the young buck and I left as the old man.
Yeah. That's okay though,
And I
because like,
wanted to do 30, but because I
yeah,
lost my vision, they medically discharged me on Labor Day 2012.
yeah. And after that, what's your plan? Obviously, no one plans on having an accident like that and losing 80% of your vision and you know being hurt and all that. What do you do after that?
Well, I mean, if it wasn't for my 6-month-old daughter, now she's 11, she's upstairs and getting ready for bed. I wouldn't be alive today. And I get emotional when I talk about this a lot because
You don't have to.
people know that I'm as real as it gets. I'm a real MFer. You know what I mean? I'm never gonna tell you a story. But for because when you get hurt in the military, and if they're gonna medically discharge you, they put you through certain classes, and you got to sit for a certain amount of time until they decide what they're gonna do with you. So, they put you in a room every drill weekend. You got to go to this room. The first weekend, I played cards and did poker or whatever. But I still had some vision left and one eye. Then I'm like, I can't do this. I got to do something while I'm here. I'm like,
Mm.
I'm gonna go crazy because my ADD was just freaking whack. So I picked up a book by my friend Mr. Robert Kiyosaki and Sharon Lecter, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I just started devouring all the purple books. And then I was like, all right, who's next? Who's next on the personal development? I'm going to devour that. And I kept on hearing about a guy named Mr. Gary Vaynerchuk. And that's when I picked up Crush It, Jab, 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 Right Hook. I picked up all his books and then I finally met him. But what happened was they finally called me in on Labor Day 2012. And they say, well, we finally realized what we're going to do with you. We're going to medically discharge you. You're going to be, we're going to medically retire you. So, and I was like, so what does that mean? And they're like, it means you're no longer Sergeant Kaufman. And that, because in the military, even you're in the military, it's kind of like, that's who you are.
Yeah.
That is who you are. Whenever they ask you for ID, you never pulled out your driver's license. You always pulled out your military ID. That's who you were. So for me, I was Sergeant Kaufman. That was who I built myself up to be the best I could be. And then for them to tell me, we need your ID card, and you're no longer Sergeant Kaufman. And I went out to my truck. I bought a brand new Dodge Ram 1500, and I'm like, I don't know what just happened. I knew it was coming, but I didn't know how to feel because, okay, if I'm not Sergeant Kaufman, who's Richard?
Yeah.
I don't know who Richard is. I've been building this persona for the last 23 years. So who am I? And I felt like I failed my wife, failed my kids, I failed my country. And I decided, I said, I can't do it. I said, I think this world would be a better place without me. So I called my wife. We were supposed to meet down the shore. Everybody knows the shore. And we weren't hanging out with Snooki or anything, but we go. And I said, honey, I'll be there in a little bit. I love you. Tell the baby I love her. And I knew I would never hear my wife's voice again. I knew that I was not going to make it there. Because my plan was, okay, now like Mike Tyson says, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth. But my plan was to, how the New Jersey Turnpike is. It's all just highway and concrete. Yep. So I decided I'm going to get the Dodge up to 100 miles an hour, brand new truck, so I had no problem. I'm going to put it on cruise control, and I'm going to put it on the radio on. I'm going to take my hands off the wheel, shut my eyes, and eventually I'm going to hit it. I'm going to hit the guardrail and just end it all. So I did that. I got up to 100. I turned the radio on. I shut my eyes, and for some reason, I'm not a country guy. I wasn't a country guy anyway, but I put a country radio station on. And as I'm driving and I shut my eyes, I could feel the trucks moving. I could feel it moving, and I can actually feel, on the sides when you have the blinkers to make sure you're not going to go off the rail.
Yeah.
I felt it hitting the tires, so I knew I was close to death. And a song called "I Saw God Today" came on. It was by Clint Black, and the song talks about the father's first time seeing his newborn baby in the waiting room at the hospital. And I immediately saw my daughter's face. And I knew at that moment, I want to be a daddy. I want to be a husband.
Yeah. And
I got my truck straightened, pulled over. And I told my wife, I said, I'm in a bad way. It's like, I'm on my way, but I need help. If I don't get to the VA on Tuesday, then I'm going to go home and put the pistol in my mouth and take my life. She said, okay, just hold on. She said, I got you. So that I went to the VA Tuesday morning. I've been seeing the same therapist since that Tuesday morning. And that's when my life took another turn, is when I decided, all right, if I'm feeling like this, and we're losing now it is at the point now, we're losing up to 55, 56 veterans and first responders a day. So if I'm feeling like this, there are so many more people out there feeling like this.
Yep.
So that's when I decided, all right, let me start the podcast. After me and Gary had lunch, that's when I decided to write the book, start the podcast, start talking, speaking in rehabs, jails, at the VA. I go to VA once a month. I speak every single month. So for me, that's when my life took the next chapter. Even though I was still half blind, I finally had a vision for my life. You know what I mean?
Wow. That's actually well said. That might be the thumbnail right there. Even though I'm half blind, I had a vision for myself. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So that's
That's
what
touching.
and that's what I've been doing ever since, Labor Day 2012. That's my whole goal now is just there's somebody out there, there's Private Joe Snuffier out right now.
Yeah,
He might be saying to himself, I can't take this anymore.
yeah,
So
100%.
if he can hear me and you talking, he might say, oh, you know what? If they made it, I'm going to make it too.
Yeah, yeah. This is honestly great. Mental health, drugs and alcohol are definitely probably the biggest things in the military. That you can't get help unless you help yourself first. So to try to be an outlet, I'm not saying we're doctors in any way, and we're not God Himself. We're not going to touch you and make everything better. We can definitely help you. Maybe talk to you, point you in the right direction. Whether at first it's the wrong direction for you, because everyone's different. You went to the VA and sought out help that way. That's kind of step one, correct? Is if
For
you
me,
are
it
if you
was
are a
because
veteran.
I didn't know where else to go.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
figured,
yeah,
okay,
me neither.
I'm a veteran. Where else can I go? But
Yeah.
now, I mean, like if somebody's struggling right now, they could just go to their phone and dial 988
Yep.
and
I
get
was
help
gonna.
right now. But
Yep.
back then, you're like, okay, I got to make an appointment. I got to do this and I got to do that. But it was an. That's why I don't normally wear this shirt. I normally have another shirt that says, "Today, I decide."
Mhm.
Which that means the three most important words in English language are "Today, I decide." So today, I decide to be the victim, or I decide to be the victor. It's up to me. So for me, I decided not to go to jail at 20. I decided to stay in the military when I was about to be thrown out again. I decided to not to not kill myself. So for
Yeah.
me, it's all about the decisions that we make. Because and I got an argument with somebody that I truly love, and I told her, I'm like, listen, everything you've ever done has brought you to this exact moment,
Yep.
good or bad. So like me being with you right now, every decision I've ever made has brought me to being right here where I'm at. We're at.
Yeah. I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for every decision I've ever made too. And granted, for you as well. But I did want to elaborate what you were saying before. That number you were talking about, 811, right? And then there's the countless numbers of veterans crisis lines, the military one source. These are all like 24/7 lines. You can call them, ask them how much gas is in Dubai, or ask them the most serious questions of your life. They will always be there to answer the phone. They will help you get help, and if they can't help you get help, they will find you help. That's one of their guarantees.
Well,
Even the VA, you can always call the VA. The VA will, if one person can get you the answer, they'll find somebody who can most likely get you the
but
answer.
for me, and I talk about this all the time on my show, that guys, we're taught to man up.
Bottle it
Well,
up.
man
Yep.
up is killing men every single day because we think, we're taught in the military, we're taught man up or next man up, you know, but man up is killing people
Hmm.
every day. For me, and I don't BS, I don't lie. I am the realest MFer in the room, and I say it all the time. I'll put out on my Facebook page, even though I got thousands of friends and followers, I'm not having a good day.
Yeah.
I'm struggling.
Hmm.
I struggle. I'm still blind, and I still have, you know, I still have PTSD, traumatic brain injury, blindness. I still struggle, and a lot of people will say, "Wait a minute, but you're a best-selling author. You're a top podcaster." And if he says he's struggling, then maybe I'm going to reach out to him because I'm struggling too.
Yeah.
And like my friend Sergeant, I'm going to be on his show soon again. He was on my show. Sergeant Mario P. Field. I mean, Sergeant Major Mario P. Fields struggled with PTSD. And he says he would make it a point to show up in his dress uniform to go get mental health. So when he walked in the room, all these privates and E4s would say, if he's going for help, I'm okay. I'm in the right place.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to start saying, I'm struggling today too. Let's do this together. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, 100%. Definitely. Richard, your book. For those who haven't heard of it, haven't read it, where is it available for them?
Well, right now it's a 1 time, 2 time, 3 times it's been on the bestseller list. It's on Amazon Kindle. It's only in the Kindle version right now.
Okay.
It's called A Hero's Journey from Darkness to Light. It's $10.97, which is kind of expensive for an ebook. But when you realize that 100% of the profits go to help end veteran homelessness and PTSD. I make no money off of. I make no money off my T-shirts, my hat, my coffee. I have a coffee company. I don't make any money off of it. It's all paying it forward. So if you buy my book, 100% of the profits go to help veterans struggling with homelessness and PTSD. What I do is I don't even know. I got my coffee here. So
nice.
See that.
Yeah,
Twice the energy, no crash, kicking ass. But the best part is when you buy anything from me,
yeah,
100% of the proceeds we're going to take, because I'm with a company called Project Die Hard 22. We're going to take 12 veterans and their families, take care of them for 1 year, physically, mentally, spiritually, give them a house to live at zero cost to the soldier.
Wow.
So for every book, every T-shirt, every coffee cup, whatever I do, 100% goes to help veterans struggling with PTSD. Now the book, it was written by me. So guys, I'm a low-tech redneck. So it was, it sounds like it was written by me. It was edited, but there's a lot of grammatical errors, and I'm okay with that.
That's
So
okay.
people know that it was me.
That's okay.
But each chapter is a chapter of my life, and in the end, at the end of the chapter, it tells you what not to do because of mistakes that I've made.
Yeah.
And then the last 2 chapters are, what does addiction look like? It's not what you think it looks like. And what does depression look like? It's not what you think it looks like. So the last 2 chapters are actually teaching chapters. And there's also different people to get in touch with in case you're struggling with suicidal ideations. So it's a teaching book, but it's also my story.
Okay. Now, besides the book, Richard, where can someone go to purchase your coffee or your hat or one of your shirts?
All you got to do, because of Gary V, my brother Gary, I love my brother Gary, we are on the first 8 pages of Google. So if you just type in Vertical Momentum Podcast, you're going to come up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Tumblr, Flickr, like 24 different ways to get in touch with me. So you can buy anything there. And so if you guys are interested in that, and now I'm going to let you know that if you're a business owner and if you buy anything from me, and I'm giving you my word now, I'm going to give you something worth $997. And it could be the coffee. It could be a coffee mug. It could be a T-shirt. Whatever you buy from me, and you're a business owner, I'm going to give you something worth $997.
Anyone listening, free is for me. You make a little small-time purchase towards Richard and every cause he's given, you'll potentially gain something that in your wildest dreams you never would have thought of. You buy some from what I like is that, you said you buy one thing from me, a hat, a T-shirt, coffee, pick something. I'm not going to make money off this. What I'm going to do is I am going to help veterans in every way, shape, and form I possibly can for a year. So what that means to me, if I buy 10 T-shirts, that's 10 years that so many people will be helped. That's honestly.
We may not know like I always believe that if I throw a pebble in a lake,
Yeah.
it's just gonna. So we might not know the person that we saved today,
Yep.
but if somebody decides not to take their life, we literally just changed the whole world
Yeah.
just by us talking and being real and being honest with each other. So for me, I don't need the money. I mean, I live in New Jersey. I got a beautiful wife. I got three beautiful kids. I got a beautiful home. I mean, I'm actually living 3 miles from where I used to live in my car for a year and a half.
Wow.
Now I'm living in a $600,000 home, and hopefully got a beach house and a boat on the way. So I don't need the money, and
Yeah.
that's why I tell everybody, I'm just trying. Like Gary told me, he said, "Rich." So I said when I met him, I said, "Gary, you got to give me something to take home with me." He said, "Your legacy will always be more valuable than your currency."
Yeah.
And that
Definitely.
that hit home for me. So now everything I do is for legacy. It's not for currency.
I really do appreciate that. I envy you got to meet Gary. Gary is one of those
Well,
guys
actually,
that
if you look at some of his old videos, if you look, remember, like you would actually look up into his office, you would see my
yeah.
Wounded Warrior hat hanging up in his office.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to go back and look for that.
yeah. Gary's an awesome dude, man.
Yeah.
He's amazing, and I'm actually going back and I'm re-listening to all his old stuff, and I'm realizing that even the books that came out 12 years ago, they're still very vital in today's business world.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like that happen where remember before you were talking about crypto and but isn't it weird to like go back and listen to old people like that, even listen to like old Rogan, right? He'll be talking about, hey, have you heard of this whole Bitcoin stuff and what's going to happen with this and iPhones, and it's kind of cool to see, the people that we kind of listen to and we like to talk about with our friends, hear their stories before any of these things were even a thing, just to
Well,
hear
and,
their
but
opinion and their
even
view on it.
even like Gary said, NFTs shit the bed.
Yeah,
He's like
yeah,
he was so hard on NFTs for a while, and they shit the bed. So
yeah,
even people that are in that space, they made mistakes, but now you can
yeah,
see, okay, well, even though they made the mistakes, they've come back from that.
yeah, yeah. That's I live by that. You can't, you can't run before you can, you gotta walk before you can learn to run. Everyone's gonna make mistakes. Richard, do you have anything brewing right now that you're looking forward to in the future?
Yeah, I just got notification that I got voted, and like I said, I'm grateful that I'm one of the top 10 veteran voices on LinkedIn.
Wow.
I'm going to be on, I think, somewhere in the next 6 months, up to on 200 different podcasts.
Holy
I've
shit.
got so many different podcasts that I have 300 podcasts I haven't released yet.
Yeah.
300 that are
Stockpile.
still in the making. So for me, I'm going to be speaking on more stages. Hopefully every year I throw my Today I Decide Mental Health Summit, which is a free mental health summit. It's
Mhm.
online. Get 10 different speakers come in, talk about mental health, and it's all free. So, and that's what I'm looking forward to. And I'm looking forward to, being a good husband, being a good father, And now, guys, if you're listening to this, make sure you have a dream board. And I don't know if you know what that means, but make sure you have a board in your house where you put all the things that you want to do in your life. Make sure you have a dream board. Because I've been saying, I want to dream. I had a dream 10 years ago when this all happened, 12 years ago. I want to take my family to Atlantis in the Bahamas.
Mhm.
My wife just informed me she booked a cruise to Atlantis. We booked a cruise to go to the Bahamas in Atlantis. It's been on my dream board for 10 years.
Yeah.
So guys, make sure you have a dream board. Like my goal this year is we're on track to hit 1 million downloads of our podcast. But because I write it down twice a day. So make sure
Mhm.
you guys are writing down your goals. Because if you're typing it in your phone, it doesn't mean anything. But if you're
Yeah.
writing it down on paper, It means you have a 93% chance of hitting your goals if you actually physically write them down on paper.
Yeah. Richard, thank you for that. Before I let you go, do you have any questions for me?
First of all, I would like to know, how you have created the ecosystem that you have already with your podcast. Because you have an amazing ecosystem, and your YouTube channel is fire. People comment, people are sharing. So I want to know how you've only been doing this for 2 months and how you're already crushing it.
I actually thank you for that question, Richard. Thank you for your concern and thank you for your acknowledgement. I actually started this podcast, released my first episode on September 11th. I chose that day because being a New Yorker, having family that was involved in 9/11. Thankfully, none of my family members personally were killed during 9/11, but a lot of them are suffering that smoke inhalation now and are greatly dealing with the consequences of it. From illnesses that people couldn't even imagine to just the shittiest aspect, right? So 9/11 was like one of those days where I was like, this is where I'm going to start it because this day means a lot to me. 2 weeks prior to that is when I made my first when I made my first episode. So for that 2 weeks, I said, I'm going to do this. I did all the research I possibly could. I listened to podcasts that had nothing to do with the military. Because just like a songwriter would listen to a song and maybe think, oh, I like this song. Let me use maybe the same melody or some of the same lyrics or some of the same words. I wanted nothing to do with that. Right. So I feel like if I had this fresh start and all of this knowledge that I was learning from other people that had nothing to do with the road I wanted to go down, it would help. To answer your question, all of the work I've done on my own. I have a little cousin. She is one of the social media influencers for People Magazine, and now for one of these famous makeup companies in the city. I don't really know what it is. I'm not into all that social media stuff. It's definitely a learning curve for me, but she has helped me along the way, and just my following. I have something to offer to active duty and veterans that is very rare. I've been told I am one of the first active duty podcasters they have ever heard of. So I think that kind of helps my backing too.
Now, also, I just want to mention is all of us struggle with mental health issues.
Correct.
Or have been touched by somebody with mental health issues. Like
Correct.
A lot of people don't realize that Robert Kiyosaki actually flew helicopters in Vietnam. Mm. A lot of people don't realize that his writing partner, Sharon Lecter, lost her Marine son to suicide. A lot of people don't realize that John Lee Dumas, one of the biggest podcasters in the world, was a tank commander in Iraq and lost a tanker to fire. Mm-hmm. So we're all dealing with the same stuff. Yep. But like The Rock says, you need to treat the CEO the same way as you would treat the janitor, because we're all going through the same thing. Some of us just on a higher level, like this, like Jay-Z said, more money, more problems. So, mm-hmm. Whatever the janitor's dealing with, the CEO might be dealing with just on a higher level. You know what I mean? So we're all dealing with the same stuff. And this show means, that we're all dealing with the same stuff. And here, this show is a safe place to come, listen, and to get help.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Richard, thank you so much, man. Thank you. It's, days like this, episodes like this, people like you that I get to meet and talk to make me realize that everything I'm doing is all worth the while,
Can I just say something to the audience real quick?
Go for it,
Guys,
Richard.
If you're watching this, make sure that you go to Spotify, you go to Apple, write a written review. Not just star review, but write a written review, because he will actually be able to. It's more valuable to write a written review. If you have one written review, it's equal to 10 5-star reviews. So guys, make sure that you go subscribe, and on Spotify. Well, now they call it following. Make sure you follow the show. Make sure you leave a comment, and make sure you leave leave a review. Just to let this gentleman know that he's doing the right thing. He doesn't get paid for this, so that would be your payment to help him out. I just want to say that.
Thank you so much, Richard and the Freedom Empire. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you so much for speaking. Until next time, guys, have a great day.
God bless you guys.
Views presented are those of the speaker, and the guest do not necessarily represent the views of the Department of Defense or its components. Neither the Department of Defense or its components bears any responsibility for the accuracy, legality, or content of the views discussed on this podcast. Now, without further ado, let's get into this.